Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating challenge for family historians. How do you actually use AI to write an ancestor's story without losing their authentic self in the process? If you've ever stared down a massive pile of genealogy records and wondered how to bring your great-grandparents to life without crossing that line into fiction or, accidentally turning grandma into a soap opera star, you are in the exact right place. We're going to unpack exactly how to leverage these wild new tools to honor your family's legacy the right way. So here is our master checklist for today. We're looking at truth over AI imitation, building a voice profile, perspective and context, the AI drafting workflow, and finally, verification and source notes. All right, kicking things off with part 1, truth over AI imitation. Remember, AI is the assistant, but you are the witness. Think about it like this. You are the ultimate steward of your family's history. AI is incredibly powerful, absolutely, but it should never, ever replace human authorship. It's just your drafting assistant. The real goal here is to use AI to create a faithful draft that actually sounds consistent with the storyteller's natural way of speaking, while entirely preserving truth, humility, and human authorship. We are definitely not here to generate Hollywood-style melodrama or invent dramatic scenes that just never happened. We're using this tech to expand our capacity to remember faithfully and to honor the people who came before us with absolute dignity. So what's the trick here? It's all about understanding the fundamental difference between voice and facts. Voice is your tone. Facts are the truth. You've got to keep these two inputs strictly separated, both in your mind and in your prompts. The voice dictates the tone, like maybe your grandfather was a warm, plain-spoken, and humorous guy. But the facts dictate the truth, that he was born in 1906 in El Dorado, Oklahoma, and survived a really hard life. You absolutely never want to let the AI invent a fact just because it sounds good in that warm, plain-spoken tone. Moving right along to our second checklist item, building a voice profile. This is all about capturing style without faking identity. So how exactly do we capture that style? Well, 3 to 7. That right there is your magic number. That's the number of writing samples you need to feed the AI to establish a truly reliable baseline. One single letter? Rarely enough. You want variety. Think about feeding it a good mix of letters, maybe some journal entries, remembered sayings, or even a transcribed oral history. Those 3 to 7 samples give the AI just enough data to grasp the authentic rhythm of their communication, without it having to guess. Now, to build a truly great voice profile, you need actionable elements. Instead of just vaguely telling the AI, hey, write like grandpa, ask it to look for specific patterns. Are their sentences generally short and plain, or are they long and reflective? What's the vocabulary actually like? Is it formal, simple, rural, maybe scriptural? And what about the emotional tone? Is it tender, restrained, or a little bit dramatic? Do they lean on favorite themes, like faith, hard work, or sacrifice? By having the AI analyze your samples for these very specific elements, you're building a framework that honors their true voice, rather than just getting some generic AI summary. Which brings us to a really crucial concept, the persona. Now, in the context of our checklist, a persona is a style guide with guardrails. It is not a pretend person. It directs the narrator's voice, but it absolutely does not claim to know their private thoughts. This is a vital stylistic boundary that keeps your draft respectful. You really want to avoid that incredibly risky territory of commanding the AI with a prompt like, "You are grandma, write your story." No way. That leads directly to the AI flat out faking an identity. Instead, you frame it as a style guide to inspire the draft. Okay, let's move on to part 3, perspective and context. We need to make sure we're framing the past accurately. This is where we have to talk about first person versus third person. First person is that, I remember walking to school style. Third person is more like, Ethel grew up in a world of hard work. The rule of thumb here is strict. You use the first person strictly when you are working directly from their own authentic writings or transcripts. But if you have the facts of their life but not their exact words, you've got to pivot to the third person. It is so much safer and totally prevents the AI from putting unearned words right into your ancestor's mouth. As you start putting the history together, think of yourself as having 4 distinct tiers of certainty to work with. You've got your known fact, a family memory, reasonable historical context, and imaginative but cautious reconstruction, which is like saying she may have felt the weight of responsibility during a particularly harsh winter. But notice the strict boundary right at the bottom. Unsourced emotions are simply not allowed. Historical context is there to illuminate the lived experience, not to bury it in generic facts, and definitely not to just invent feelings out of thin air. Let me show you why false intimacy is so dangerous. Say you have a known fact. She was living in El Dorado, Oklahoma in 1910. But you cannot just jump to an invented emotion like, she stood at the window and cried as the fire spread. That second sentence, sure, it might be deeply moving and it might be beautifully written by the AI, but unless someone specifically recorded her crying at that window, it violates historical truth. It's literally an invention. We have to protect our ancestors from being flattened into dramatic caricatures just for the sake of a juicier story. All right, checklist item 4, the AI drafting workflow. This is all about keeping humans firmly in the driver's seat. Here is your bulletproof 5-step workflow. Step 1, human memory and sources. Step 2, AI outline. Step 3, human correction. Step 4, AI draft. Step 5, human revision and source note. Notice the pattern? Human, AI, human, AI, human. It's an exact ping-pong game. Research actually suggests that AI can sometimes reduce a writer's sense of ownership over a text, so this specific workflow ensures the AI remains merely your drafting assistant, while you remain the ultimate author, editor, and witness. To pull that workflow off smoothly, you're going to use this prompt pattern. It's a very simple 2-step process. First, ask the AI to analyze your 3 to 7 samples to create that voice profile we talked about earlier. Do not let it write the story yet. Then, second, provide your verified facts and command it to create a voice-inspired draft. Give it clear, hard rules. Do not invent dialogue. Do not invent motives. By splitting the prompt into analysis first and drafting second, you maintain incredibly tight control over the final output. And that brings us to the final stage, part 5, verification and source notes. This is your final polish and your ethical declaration. Before you even think about hitting save, print, or share on your story, you need to ruthlessly run your draft through this review checklist. Ask yourself, did the AI invent any emotion, quotes, or motives? Are all the dates, names, and places fully verified against the actual historical records? Is the broader historical context clearly separated from the known facts of their life? Does it sound wonderfully, realistically human rather than overly polished and robotic? And honestly, most importantly, does it preserve their dignity? Would a close family member read this and say, yes, that sounds fair? If not, it goes right back to the revision stage. Finally, the source note. This story was drafted with AI assistance using family memories. Direct facts were checked, private thoughts and dialogue were not invented. Best practice absolutely demands appending a clear source note just like this at the very end of your story. It's an honest, simple, and protective declaration of AI involvement. It tells future generations exactly how this document was created, and it completely reassures them of its historical integrity. So I'm going to leave you with this one final provocative question to chew on. Are we using AI to faithfully remember our ancestors, or just to manufacture a more dramatic version of them? The ultimate goal of any family historian is love, under the strict discipline of truth. Use AI to expand your capacity to honor that truth, not replace it entirely. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and hey, happy writing!